Jonathan?
Hey y'all, it's Saturday and we are tracking the severe weather potential heading into this evening and overnight. So we just wanted to come on here and give you a quick update and go a little bit more in detail on why we're seeing this type of setup, especially for the month of December. We're a week out from the holidays. This is a very busy travel weekend for a lot of you who are traveling across the country, and this may make way for delays if you're driving anywhere today, even across our state. It's not just us. It's pretty much the entire state of Florida that's under the risk of severe weather. So let's talk about what currently is happening. If you're concerned about traveling today, try to get it out as early as you can today. The storms and even the weather will start to deteriorate as we head towards the evening. So right now you're seeing a live look at our live radar. A couple of showers are moving over our region, but most of us are dry right now. It is pretty cloudy and cool, but the National Weather Service has issued a couple of advisories. We have this flood watch. That's the entire viewing area is under this flood watch because of the potential. I think the biggest risk with this storm system will be the heavy rainfall. That's number one. The second and even third risk will be damaging winds of excess of 65 miles per hour. And we cannot rule out the potential of seeing isolated tornadoes. Not everybody's going to see this threat, but the ingredients are increasing heading into this evening and into the overnight. And I stress overnight because you need a way to have alerts on, especially if you're under a tornado warning. A tornado warning means you need to seek shelter immediately. There's either indication, radar indicated threat of tornadoes, or something has been confirmed. So if you are under a tornado warning, that's something to keep in mind. The National Weather Service also issues watches. So watches just mean to be prepared. If we do happen to be under some sort of watch, whether that be a severe thunderstorm watch or tornado watch, it's just telling you guys to stay prepared and have a way to receive the latest information. Of course, we're going to have full team coverage heading into this afternoon and into the overnight with our team of meteorologists. Our chief meteorologist, Richard Nunn, will be in tonight and even into tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow morning, we'll be here, me and Mark, tracking the weather early as this storm continues to push over areas. So let's track you through the rest of the day today. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about that Storm Prediction Center severe weather threat. Now, this is a very rare severe weather threat that we're seeing in the month of December. We usually don't see this type of weather patterns. We usually go into the dry season, but of course, some of the major patterns that we saw, even that influenced the hurricane season, are influencing our winter here in Florida, and that's the El Nino. Typically during El Nino years and El Nino cycles, we do get a ramp up of rainfall across our region, but also the ramp up of severe weather. So that just means that more moisture is added into our atmosphere, more instability. So that is what triggers these severe thunderstorms. So that's why the Storm Prediction Center right now is highlighting a slight risk of severe weather. So that's a level 2 out of 5 for the potential of seeing storms. So this just means scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms are possible. And they did change this in the overnight hours to include areas of Fernandina Beach, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, and along the I-95 corridor. Just talking from my chief meteorologist this morning, Richard Nunn, some of the ingredients are a little bit more favorable. We'll see some of the strongest storms across our coastal areas, especially in Florida. So that's something to keep in mind. Other areas from Brunswick, just on the west side of Jacksonville and all the way down to Gainesville, you are also under the threat of severe weather. We also have to talk about this tornado risk. Yes, the tornado risk has also gone up across our area from the latest Storm Prediction Center's advisory. And the next one is here over the next hour or so. So we'll see if they give any sort of bump in terms of tornado probabilities or even the risk, the severe weather risk in general. But I think overall in our area, this will stay pretty consistent. If you're traveling south, like Orlando, that they have better chances of seeing the severe weather risk. But of course, we cannot rule out the potential of seeing some of these rotating thunderstorms with the potential of seeing tornadoes, possibly even water spouts over our coastal area. So that's what we're tracking today. Again, this is a 5% chance of tornadoes. So this is kind of for our area, a little bit of a high end threat, and we're going to continue to monitor that. But I also want to keep in mind, so we were talking about this being a mostly primarily overnight threat. And so because it's going to be overnight into tomorrow morning, there's also a risk of severe weather heading into tomorrow, mostly for our coastal areas. So this is a level 1 out of 5. Very isolated storms will be pushing through our area, but we think the severe weather risk will be pretty much over as we head towards the morning on Sunday morning. So we're going to be live here tomorrow during the morning show. And even before that, if we do happen to see any tornado warnings, keeping track and keeping an eye on the storms. But right now, what we're really focusing on is the coastal threat. And that's something to also keep in mind, because this will also ramp up here over the next several hours. This is just a live cam from our Jack's Beach. I've been showing this all morning, but it really tells you the story. Choppy waves and even the winds as they continue to increase. High tide is occurring right now, so you can see how high the water is on our beaches. There's somebody out there, but they're getting soaked because of how much the water is coming up on our beaches. So that's something else to keep in mind. Stay off our coastal areas even today and into tomorrow. It's going to be a pretty active weather pattern here over the next several days. So let's talk a little bit about what is happening and what ingredients we're seeing. We're going to dive into it because this is what it's looking like right now in terms of our upper weather or upper level patterns. High pressure is what's actually influencing the winds coming from the east, and that's what's increasing our coastal threat. Just south of this area, this Gulf flow, we've been talking about this all morning. This is actually right here, just a little bit closer to Florida. It's already starting to bring in some rainfall across the western side of the peninsula and even across central Florida. None of this is severe. It's when it gets closer to our region. It also has an association of a cold front and a warm front. As that warm front nears our area and lifts over the region, that's when we're going to have the increase of instability. This low is also dropping in terms of pressure. So that also tells us that this low is intensifying. So as it comes over our region with that warm front, the instability is going to increase. We also have wind shear. Wind shear is what helps the storms rotate. That's also increasing over our area. And so with all these severe weather ingredients in place, it is no surprise that the risk of severe weather will continue. And what's also rare about this is that this is happening in the overnight. We usually don't get an overnight threat across the state of Florida, and this is what's going to happen tonight. So that's why we are keeping you guys informed of what's going to happen. So Saturday, this morning, you're not going to notice much activity. It's really until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, you're going to notice the widespread rainfall is coming in. Once the rain starts, it won't stop for a couple of hours. And you're going to notice that with our future radar by 8 o'clock, some of those reds and oranges, that just means the heavy rainfall will be over our area. Ponding is possible, flooding risks. If you're under a flood warning, just keep that in mind. Stay off the roadways in the coastal areas. That continues into 11 o'clock. Look at how widespread this rainfall is. Our whole viewing area will see rain, and that's why this is the largest threat that we're going to see with this storm system. As we get into the overnight hours, those purples that you're seeing on the screen, those are indicating to us that these could potentially be the strongest storms that will move over our area. The winds as well will be howling, so an active overnight into Sunday is expected for our area. After 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, I think the conditions will start to improve across Northeast Florida. Southeast Georgia, you're still going to see possibly a severe weather risk. And really, I think after lunchtime, we're still going to see some scattered storms, but conditions will improve. The cold air will start to come into our region, and pretty much all of this is said and done. So just something to keep in mind. Again, I say this, and I've been repeating this repeatedly. Overnight threat. That's why this is a pretty dangerous storm system. Now, in terms of rainfall, the flooding risks, 3 to 5 inches of rainfall is possible. I wouldn't be surprised if some isolated areas picked up to 6 inches of rainfall. So yes, flooding, biggest threat. I just want to keep reiterating that because flooding is a big danger across our region, especially with the amount of rainfall we're going to receive here over the next several hours. But again, I know it's a busy holiday travel weekend. Once the storm system gets out of the way, conditions will improve. And because the Jags game is pretty late tomorrow, that's actually helping in terms of giving time for the weather system to move out of our area. So I think in terms of the Jags forecast, we're going to be fine. Kickoff 60 degrees, cloudy for halftime. And then by the fourth quarter at 57 degrees with winds from the northwest at 20 miles per hour. So if you have plans for the Jags game, it's looking good in terms of those conditions. And later on this week for the holiday, we're going to be back to a frost. It's going to be pretty cold waking up Tuesday. But overall, if you're wondering, I know once we get through the severe weather threat, you're going to see pretty much rainfall wash out today, wash out heading into tomorrow morning. And then by the rest of the week, we're going to see temperatures in the 60s. And then the coldest day this week is going to be on Tuesday with temperatures in the upper 50s and frost possible once again heading into Tuesday morning and even Wednesday morning. So we're going to be here tracking this storm throughout the rest of the day today. We have full team coverage heading into tonight for the evening show. So come back for that update. This is very important. We have to update this hourly with any new changes that the Storm Prediction Center may give way to here in the next hour and a half once they give the new update for storm severe weather. And then, of course, we'll be here tracking if any tornado warnings get issued into the overnight hours. We'll be here tracking them live. So we'll come back and see you then, but stay safe, guys. It's going to be a pretty active evening, and make sure to download our Weather Authority app. It'll give you updates and pretty much give you the forecast if you're wondering out and about when these storms arrive.